Welcome to the Queer Confidence Podcast, the podcast to help you become your most confident queer self. I'm your host, he, she, they, Coach Alex Ray, and I haven't always been this confident. In fact, I used to be super insecure. And through this show, I want to share with you what's worked for me, my clients, and my guests so that you can become more confident. Hello, my unicorns. How you doing? Happy July. Today, we're going to be talking about belonging. And I'm looking forward to this topic because belonging is something that many of us in the queer community are struggling to find, right? You're feeling like you're not belonging anywhere, maybe not even within our own queer community. And I used to struggle so much with the feeling of belonging and regularly feeling like I don't belong here. This is not my space. These are not my people. Why am I even here? Maybe I should just go. And so today we're going to go through quickly why you feel like you don't belong and what it takes to feel like you belong. And then I'm going to give you all of the thought shifts that I have now, all of my new thoughts that create belonging wherever I go. And this is really fun because just this past weekend, I was at a pool party and the friend that invited me was a couple hours late. And so I showed up at this party knowing no one. Literally not a single person. And I think there were probably 40 or so people there, if I were to estimate. 40, maybe 50, probably about 40 though. So imagine walking into this pool party backyard scene, right? 40 people you've never met before. They're all drinking and you don't drink, right? I don't drink anymore. And like, what? So I just thought it was fascinating because the old me would have freaked out, you all. I would have been like, oh my God, it's time to grab a drink. Let's let loose. If I have the drink, then I'll be able to socialize. Now, I'm a pretty extroverted person already, so I would have probably found some way to, to socialize and get to know people. But I definitely would have felt like an outsider. And I typically, if I walk into the room knowing no one, am kind of like on the sidelines. And alcohol for me used to be the way that I dealt with kind of opening myself up and helping myself relax. And now I don't drink anymore. So I don't even have that, that little assistance, if you will. And so it is all up to me. And so here's what I want you to know. The thoughts that I have are available for you. So whether you are an extrovert or an introvert, it does not matter. This is why I love to have a coach that is very different from me in many aspects. Like, she is making all of the money, right? She has no money blocks. Whereas I am currently I'm not wealthy and I didn't grow up in a family that had a lot of wealth either. And so I love just hearing her thoughts about money because clearly her thoughts are working for her when she's making several $1,000,000 a year. Be in the room with people that are different than you. Learn from their thoughts. If you want to be like somebody else, don't look for the people that are similar to you. So if you're introverted and you're wanting to look for belonging, don't go to another introvert who does not feel like they can walk into any room and belong. Also, don't go to an extrovert who doesn't feel like they can walk into any room and belong. It's not about extrovert or introvertness. Okay. So that's what I want to remind you. I gave you a little story about me, but I want you to know no matter who you are, whether you are exactly the same as me or not in your tendencies, it doesn't matter. You want to learn from my thoughts. And that's what I'm going to offer you at the end today. Because if you can adopt these same thoughts, you will be able to go into a room just as I am and feel like you belong. You know you're there. And is it 1000% comfortable? No, I'm not like, oh my God, yes, I love this. Let's do this all the time. No, but I don't feel like I'm in the wrong place or like I have to hide or like I have to wait. I socialized and met like half the people at the party before my friend even showed up. I was already chatting and talking and making new friends, and it was wonderful. And then when he got there, it got even easier because he went around and introduced me to everyone. So I want you to just put aside whatever you've thought about needing to learn from somebody exactly like you. You want these thoughts today. If you are having trouble belonging, you have come to the right place. This is for you. Okay, so with that being said, we know that the queer community can be a very exclusive space, right? I think us gays might be the worst. I don't know. I mean, that's just my perspective because I'm in the gay community, obviously. But we can be very judgy and we can be very exclusive. And most of us, myself, my old self included, think that that's the reason that we feel like we don't belong. That if we were surrounded by people that were just super loving and accepting, we're like, welcome, come on in, we'd feel like we belonged. But I want you to actually think back to a time where you were actually introduced to a space and no one had told you that you didn't feel like you belonged, but you already didn't. You had already decided that you didn't belong because of something. I don't know. Make it up. You picked some kind of circumstance of yours and decided that was the reason you didn't belong. Maybe it was, I don't know, your body shape. Maybe it was your gender. Maybe it was your orientation. Maybe it was your skin color. Maybe it was your hobbies. Maybe it was your income level. Maybe it was your career. We find ways that we don't belong. It is not because other people are telling us we do or don't belong. Now, obviously, sometimes somebody says, you don't belong here. But I bet you if you think back to the last time you were in a room and you didn't feel like you belonged, that was not the case. What happens is when we don't feel confident, right? We don't belong within ourselves, then we don't carry a sense of belonging with us wherever we go. Because belonging is a feeling, right? Are you on board with that? Belonging is a feeling. Therefore, belonging is created by our thoughts. That's why you can be in a space and feel like you don't belong, whether somebody says something or not. And you can be welcomed into a space and still feel like you don't belong. I'll give you an example. If I were to go into a real religious space, like maybe a church that I used to go to, and even though people there would tell me, like, welcome, we're so glad to have you, I will not feel like I belong. Why? Because this atmosphere does not fit me. It does not fit who I am. My thoughts have decided I do not belong here. It's not up to the other people to decide whether we belong or not. We feel like we belong based on our thoughts. So we'd be feeling it even if we fix things like the bullying and unkind bios on Grindr. We'd be feeling like we didn't belong even if we fix things like cancel culture or racism or ageism or any other number of isms. So here's your work. Quit worrying about the circumstances. Quit working on things outside of you. And let's place all of your attention on the thoughts that you have, because your thoughts are what create your sense of belonging. And as long as there are humans on this planet, things like bullying and such will go on. So why would we work on changing that and waiting until that is, fixed, in quotes, in order to feel like we belong? It's a never-ending game, my friend. So let's let that game be an infinite, lifelong journey to help create safety and love and everything in our culture. But our belonging has nothing to do with that journey. It has nothing to do with any kind of social justice. Those things are good causes, but they're not what helps you feel like you belong. We don't need to gain acceptance in order to belong. We can create our sense of belonging wherever we go, because belonging is a feeling, and feelings are created by our thoughts. So back to, what does belonging actually look like? Belonging is a sense you create from self-confidence. You, my friend, can belong anywhere, because when you belong in you and you are here, then you belong here. That's the difference. I used to feel like I did not belong in me, right? I didn't like me. I did not like the thoughts that I had going on in my head. I was constantly bullying myself. It was just constant negative self-talk. So it was like my spirit did not belong in relationship with my mind. And therefore, I never belonged. It had nothing to do with the people that I was around. It had everything to do with me not belonging within me. The same is true of you, my friend. If you don't feel like you belong, it's because you don't belong in you. And therefore, wherever you go, you find other things outside yourself, because our brain always likes to blame things outside ourselves. And we target those and think that those are the reason that we don't belong. And it's not. It's always determined by you belonging within you. So self-confidence, exactly what we talk about here on this podcast, right? You enjoying being you creates belonging. And then wherever you go, you feel like you belong, because you enjoy being you and you are there. You don't need confirmation from anyone else anymore. Insecurity asks, do I belong? Please let me know if I should leave, right? I feel like I've asked that question. I used to ask that like all the time in my head. Do I belong here? Let me know if I should leave, guys. I don't know. I'm sure you can relate. Confidence says, I am here, therefore I belong. So, your lesson from today. The sense of belonging is created in your own brain, in our own thoughts. And I'm going to give you my thoughts in a moment, because like I told you at the beginning, if you want to create the sense of belonging, or you want to create any result in your life, you want to go to people that already have that result and just borrow their thoughts. It's the fastest way. But first, I want you to know this. This cannot be done alone. None of this can, really. No journey to confidence can be done alone, because in order to change fundamentally those thoughts, we have to become aware of the current thoughts that we have that are unconscious before we can change them. And we can't see our own unconscious thoughts. We can do a lot of surface work here, but you cannot actually change anything until you're willing to go deeper. This means two things, right? Like I talk about with the first step of being uncomfortable, you're going to need to be vulnerable and expose those thoughts that trigger a lot of shame. Now, you just writing them down on paper will be helpful. Absolutely. Go and do that. But they will not even come close to the amount of change that you'll have by exposing them to another person. This is why coaching works. You're being uncomfortable. You're exposing those thoughts that are very shame-filled, that you feel horrible for thinking, because that's the only way we actually can change them. We look at them, we observe them, we love on them because they were helpful for you at one point, and then we look at what we'd like to think on purpose. That's the first reason. And the second reason, reason number one, being vulnerable with another human allows us to let go of shame and change the thoughts. Okay, so reason number two is that, again, you're not aware of unconscious thoughts. And so having a coach who's a professional to help you pull those out is essential, because you can sit here and do all the conscious work all day, but you're never going to find those ones that are unconscious, hence the title unconscious. This is why I also have my own coach. This is why I get coaching every week, because I've got thoughts too, my friend, and I've constantly got to be pulling those up if I want to have any hope at changing them, and then therefore also changing the results in my life, changing how I feel, changing how I feel from insecure to confident, changing how I feel from not belonging to belonging. We have to have another human. So I'm going to offer you these thoughts, but I also want you to know to not be discouraged. Like, I don't know, I can't really believe them, right? It's kind of like putting up a goofy mantra that feels so impossible that you end up just being discouraged because you can't believe it. Don't use this work against yourself. Know that in order to become confident, you do want to get a coach. That's why I'm here for you. Come work with me. Let's go. Let's coach. And these are the thoughts that you want to constantly be working towards and finding, I wonder what is in my way of believing these things. Okay. All right. So here is the end goal. Here are my thoughts that create my sense of belonging wherever I go. I belong because I'm different. I belong because I showed up. I belong because my experiences helped me gain perspective. I belong because by being in the room, I help make things clearer for everyone. Even if all of them disagree with me, at least now they are certain. I belong because I choose to be here. Not just here, but here. My whole life experience. This body that I'm in. I am constantly choosing the opportunities that are best for my own growth and my own experience in this life. I belong because belonging is a feeling, and I know how to create it with my thoughts. I belong because I'm pretty cool. This space needs a sprinkle of me. I belong because I bring a calming presence with me that allows myself and others to be our whole selves, and that's needed. I belong because I'm living my authentic life. And I know deep in my soul that this is where I'm meant to be. I belong because I decided to be here. I'm going to benefit from this interaction, and so will everyone else. I belong because I belong in me. Wherever I go, that's where I belong. My friend, belonging is up to you. It is seriously just one thought shift away. I invite you to come coach with me. This is what we do. I'll help you drop the old ways of not feeling like you belong, you absolutely can belong anywhere, because you will learn that you belong in you. That's it, my friends. Have an amazing week. I'll see you on the next episode. If you enjoyed this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend so they too can become more confident. You can also help more people find the show by leaving a 5-star review wherever you listen. And if you want to become a more confident queer with support from yours truly, head to coachalexray.com or use the link down in the show notes. I'm looking forward to working with you.